The evening started like any other family dinner at the Winters Penthouse on Fifth Avenue. Crystal glasses clinked, silver cutlery scraped against fine china, and Manhattan's skyline twinkled through floor-to-ceiling windows. But tonight would be different. Tonight would change everything. "We're selling your penthouse," Mom announced, delicately dabbing her lips with a silk napkin. "It's now worth $7 million. The market's perfect." I continued eating my salmon, not looking up. At 35, I'd learned to mask my reactions well, especially around family. "Smart move, Mom," my younger brother James chimed in, already pulling up real estate listings on his phone. "Luxury properties are hitting record highs. We could reinvest in commercial real estate downtown." The irony almost made me smile. Almost. The Martinez family down the hall just sold for $6.5 million. My sister-in-law Victoria added, her diamond bracelet catching the light as she reached for her wine. "With your corner location and better views, $7 million is practically a steal." I took a slow sip of Bordeaux, letting the familiar weight of my phone press against my leg. 3, 2, 1. "We've already scheduled viewings for tomorrow," Mom continued, straightening her Hermes scarf. "Harrison and Mills says it'll sell within days." Dad cleared his throat, finally looking up from his Wall Street Journal. "Look, sweetheart, we know you're attached to this place, but the family investment fund needs diversification, and you're barely here anyway." I studied him carefully, the same patronizing tone he'd used when I'd pitched my first business idea 12 years ago, when he'd dismissed my interest in real estate as playing with buildings. "The analytics are clear," James continued, turning his phone to show everyone a pricing chart. "Luxury residential properties are up 45% since last year. If we don't capitalize now." My phone rang. The family fell silent as the ringtone echoed through the minimalist dining room. I glanced at the screen and allowed myself a small smile. "Excuse me," I said, rising smoothly. "It's my investment team." Mom frowned. "Investment team? But we handle all your finances through the family office." I placed the phone on speaker in the center of the Italian marble table. "Miss Winters," a crisp voice filled the room. "I'm confirming the acquisition is complete. Congratulations, you now own the entire building, all 48 units. The board was impressed with your $168 million cash offer." The sound of Victoria's fork clattering against her plate echoed in the sudden silence. "Excellent," I replied calmly. "Please proceed with the closing documents." "Of course, the property will be transferred to your holding company Summit Ventures immediately. That brings your Manhattan residential portfolio to 12 buildings. Correct?" Dad's Wall Street Journal slipped from his fingers. James's face had gone pale. "That's correct," I confirmed. "Please update the tenant agreements for the remaining units. Current residents can stay through their lease terms but will begin the luxury conversion next quarter." "Already arranged." "Shall we announce the acquisition at tomorrow's press conference?" "Yes, along with the hotel development plans." I glanced at my family's shocked expressions. "The renderings are finalized." "Yes, ma'am. The ultra-luxury residential conversion is generating significant interest. The waiting list for penthouses is already substantial." "Perfect. Thank you." I ended the call. The only sound was the gentle hum of the Sub-Zero wine refrigerator, a background noise to countless lectures about my potential over the years. 12 buildings," Mom whispered. "Hotel development," James croaked. "Summit Ventures." Dad's voice was hoarse. "But that's the company that's been buying up half of Manhattan's luxury properties. They've been negotiating with every major building on the Upper East Side." "Yes," I said simply, taking another sip of wine. "We have." Victoria's hands trembled as she clutched her pearls. But you live in this modest penthouse. You still take the subway sometimes." "This penthouse is my favorite property," I agreed. "Quiet, understated, perfect for planning acquisitions." I turned to Mom. "By the way, Harrison and Mills can't handle the sale, because I acquired them last year. They're a division of Summit now." The city lights continued their eternal dance beyond the windows, as decades of assumptions crumbled around the Danish modern dining table. "How?" Dad finally managed. "When, 12 years ago, you told me real estate was playing with buildings, I said quietly, so I stopped telling you about it." Used my trust fund as seed money. The only good decision you made was setting that up when I was born. Made my first purchase at 23. Reinvested everything. Lived simply. Learned the market from the inside out. I pulled out my tablet and accessed the Summit Ventures portfolio. While you were all focused on the family fund's 10% annual returns, I was building this. The property list scrolled endlessly. Luxury condominiums, boutique hotels, commercial towers, residential complexes. Total portfolio value, $3.4 billion. That's impossible, James stuttered. We would have known. Would you? I asked mildly. When did any of you last ask about my work, my goals, my dreams? You were all too busy planning my life for me. Mom's hand flew to her throat, her Cartier necklace glinting. But what about the family fund? We needed your penthouse to stabilize it. After James's tech investment collapsed. You mean the failed AI startup? I pulled up another document. Summit acquired that too, for pennies on the dollar. We're restructuring it into something viable. James's face flushed deep red. You bought my company, along with Dad's investment firm last week, though he hasn't noticed yet. I turned to my father. The board voted yesterday. Sorry about the retirement package. Business necessity. The kitchen timer chimed 7 times, signaling dessert, right on schedule. That'll be the news alert, I said as phones around the table began buzzing simultaneously. Wall Street journals running the story about the building acquisition. They'll probably mention the investment firm purchase too. Dad fumbled with his phone, hands shaking as he pulled up the article. His face went ashen as he read the headline. Summit Ventures expands empire, mystery CEO revealed. You should all read the full piece, I suggested, standing up, especially the part about the new management structure and investment strategies. I collected my phone and tablet. I have a press conference to prepare for, but we should do dinner again soon, maybe at my new hotel. I walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and Mom? We're not selling my penthouse, but I hear the family mansion will be on the market soon. Poor management of the family fund and all that. Don't worry though. I smiled. I might buy it. The door clicked shut behind me as I left them with their cooling desserts and shattered illusions. In my private elevator, I pulled up the real-time news alerts tracking Summit's latest moves. The market was responding exactly as predicted. My phone buzzed, my actual investment team with updates on the hotel development. I had 40 minutes until the next series of calls that would reshape Manhattan's skyline. Just enough time to stop by my modest penthouse and watch the city lights sparkle over the empire they never knew I was building. The headlines kept rolling in as I descended to the private garage. Summit Ventures, the making of a real estate dynasty. Mystery CEO's strategic brilliance. Manhattan's new queen of real estate. Let them read all about it, I thought, sliding into my understated Tesla. The city's heartbeat would be the perfect backdrop for tomorrow's announcements. After all, I had a press conference to prepare for, a hotel to build, and a few more assumptions to shatter. I'd learned long ago that success was the best revenge, but watching them realize just how wrong they'd been, that was worth every billion of my fortune. As the garage door opened to the Manhattan night, I smiled at the thought of tomorrow's headlines. They'd finally learned that the quiet daughter they'd underestimated had built something they couldn't even imagine. An empire hidden in plain sight, right under their privileged noses. The city stretched before me, a glittering canvas of possibilities. My empire wasn't just buildings and properties. It was a testament to the power of being underestimated. And tomorrow everyone would know exactly who was behind the biggest real estate revolution Manhattan had ever seen. The morning after the family dinner revelation, I stood in my penthouse office, watching sunrise paint the Manhattan skyline in shades of amber and gold. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing with messages from family members, ranging from desperate pleas to thinly veiled threats. Miss Winters, my executive assistant Rachel's voice came through the intercom. The morning briefing is ready. I pressed a button on my desk, transforming the serene penthouse study into a state-of-the-art command center. Multiple screens descended from recessed ceiling panels, displaying real-time market data, property analytics, and breaking news feeds. Let's begin, I said, as my core team appeared on the main screen. The markets responding explosively to yesterday's announcements. Marcus, my CFO, reported. Summit's private stock valuation is up 15% in pre-market estimates. The building acquisition news has exceeded all projections. I nodded, scanning the financial reports. And the family fund, down 35%, after news of the management changes. Your father's investment firm shares plummeted 50% when the restructuring was announced. A message flashed on my phone. Dad again, 15th attempt since dawn. Their emergency board meeting starts in 30 minutes. Lisa, my legal counsel, added. They're attempting to challenge the acquisition, but everything's ironclad. We control 63% through various subsidiaries. Personal update, Rachel interjected. Your brother James is in the lobby of Summit Tower. He's been there since 6 a.m., demanding to see you. Victoria has been calling every major investor in Manhattan, trying to raise capital to save the family business. I smiled slightly. How's that working out? Every significant investor in New York is already partnered with Summit. No one's returning their calls. Another message. Mom, this time. Darling, please. We must talk. The bank is calling about the mansion mortgage. The press is having a field day, our PR director commented. They're calling it the silent siege of Manhattan. Your story's trending. The secret billionaire who built an empire while her family looked the other way. I pulled up the latest coverage. The headlines were delicious. Manhattan's new queen, how one woman outsmarted New York's elite. Penthouse billionaire. The hidden empire of Rebecca Winters. Winters family shock. Daughter's company acquires father's crumbling empire. What's the next move? Marcus asked. The family won't stop trying to fight this. Let them, I replied, opening my laptop. Now about the hotel development. A commotion interrupted us. Through the security feeds, I watched James arguing with the Penthouse security team. She's my sister. You can't keep me out. Do you know who the Winters family is? I sighed. Let him up, but scan him first. Minutes later, James burst into my office, stopping short at the sight of the command center. His bespoke suit was wrinkled, his usual Wall Street polish noticeably absent. What have you done? He demanded. Dad's with his lawyers. Mom's hysteric. Our family's reputation. Our family's reputation. I interrupted coolly. You mean the reputation built on old money and older prejudices, on dismissing anyone who didn't fit your narrow definition of success. We were trying to protect you, keep you from making mistakes, like your AI startup. I pulled up the acquisition documents. The one that lost $80 million in investor funds. The one I had to buy and restructure to prevent SEC investigations. He paled. How did you know? I've known everything, James. Every failed investment. Every covered-up mistake. I watched for years as you and Dad played with other people's money, convinced of your own infallibility. So this is revenge. This is business. I stood facing him. Pure, simple, profitable business. Everything I learned while you were all too busy patronizing me to notice. His phone buzzed, probably Dad with updates from the board meeting. Mine lit up with a message from Lisa: board vote complete. Restructuring approved. Your father's out. You should answer that. I nodded toward his phone. Dad's probably looking for explanations about his retirement package being canceled. James's hands shook as he read the message. You can't do this to us. We're the Winters family. Family? I laughed softly. Was it family when you all planned to sell my penthouse without consulting me? When you dismissed every idea I ever had? When you told potential investors to avoid my little hobby projects? He sank into a chair, reality finally hitting him. What do you want? I already have what I want. I gestured to the screens showing Summit's empire, what I built while you were all too arrogant to see it. The family fund, everyone's investments are in there. We're in there, I corrected. Don't worry, the small investors will be protected. Summit's taking over their accounts with a 7% appreciation bonus for their loyalty. Only the family holdings are being restructured. You've thought of everything, haven't you? That's what happens when people underestimate you. You learn to plan meticulously. My phone buzzed. The press conference was in 20 minutes. You should go, I said, standing. I have an empire to run. Oh, and James, the Bentley you bought with company funds last month. The repo team should be at your townhouse now. He left without another word, passing Rachel in the doorway. Your parents are here, she announced. Your father seems unstable. I checked the security feed. Dad was red-faced, Mom crying beside him. Perfect timing, I murmured. Send them up. Let's end this chapter. They entered like deposed royalty, their designer clothes and perfect posture at odds with their desperate expressions. The board meeting, Dad started, his voice hoarse. How long have you been planning this? Since you laughed at my first investment proposal, I replied. Remember, I was 23, suggested buying a small apartment building. You said real estate was too complex for someone like me. We were protecting you, Mom pleaded. The business world is cruel. Yes, it is. I pulled up the family fund's real numbers, not the doctored ones they showed investors. Like when you used my trust fund as collateral for James's failed ventures. Did you think I wouldn't notice? Dad stepped forward. Now see here. No, you see. I pressed a button, displaying Summit's complete portfolio. While you were protecting me, I built this. Every property, every acquisition, every success you dismissed as luck or coincidence. All part of a strategy. But the penthouse, Mom whispered. You live so modestly. Because I understand value, Mom. Real value, not the illusion you and Dad chased with borrowed money and inherited pride. My phone buzzed again. Press conference in 10 minutes. I have an empire to run, I said, gathering my things. The mansion's new owners take possession next week. I've arranged apartments for you both. Reasonable rent, considering the market. Apartments, Dad exploded. We are not some common. No, your former executives who mismanaged funds and lost investor confidence. The apartments are a courtesy. Would you prefer I let the SEC investigations proceed? They left shortly after, broken but finally understanding. The dynasty they'd built on assumptions and arrogance had crumbled, replaced by something stronger, something built on quiet determination and meticulous planning. Rachel appeared with my press conference notes. The media's waiting. They're calling you the Shadow Queen, the billionaire who built an empire in plain sight. I smiled, looking out at my city view. Not in the shadows, Rachel, right in front of them. They just never bothered to look. The screens showed Summit's valuation continuing to soar as the market absorbed the full scope of our Manhattan development plans. My phone had stopped buzzing with family messages. Reality had finally sunk in. Time to go, Rachel reminded me. The world's waiting to meet the real Rebecca Winters. I took one last look at the skyline. The same view that had inspired my first property purchase. My first step toward building something they never thought possible. The real me, I mused. They're about to learn that success doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just quietly builds an empire, one underestimated moment at a time. The press conference room at Summit Tower hummed with anticipation. Every major financial news network had their cameras trained on the empty podium, waiting to capture the first public appearance of Manhattan's most enigmatic new power player. The Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, CNBC, they were all here, hungry for the story of how a quiet heiress had orchestrated one of the most sophisticated takeovers in New York real estate history. I stood backstage, adjusting my understated Chanel suit. No flashy jewelry or obvious luxury brands, true power didn't need to announce itself. 2 minutes, Rachel whispered, handing me the latest market updates. Your family's in the lobby, trying to get press credentials. Standard protocol, I replied calmly. They can watch from the public screens like everyone else. The numbers on the tablet told their own story. Summit's private valuation up 22%. The family fund's remaining assets frozen pending investigation. Dad's investment firm already being dismantled and restructured. Miss Winters, a young analyst, appeared. The mayor's office is calling. They want to discuss the impact of Summit's developments on the city skyline. Schedule it for tomorrow, I said. Today's about setting the record straight. The screens around me showed various news channels all running variations of my story. Financial analysts debated how I'd built such an empire in secret. Real estate experts analyzed the strategy behind acquiring the family's failing companies. Social media exploded with memes about the penthouse princess who became Manhattan's queen. "It's time," Rachel announced. I stepped onto the stage, camera shutters clicking furiously. The room fell silent as I took my place at the podium. Through the glass walls of the conference room, I could see my family in the lobby below, watching the mounted screens with tight expressions. "Good morning," I began, my voice steady. "I'm Rebecca Winters, CEO of Summit Ventures. Though given yesterday's revelations, I suppose most of you already know that." A small laugh rippled through the crowd. For years, Summit has been known as a mystery company, making strategic acquisitions across Manhattan, transforming properties, building value. Today, I'm here to share our vision for the future, and perhaps correct some misconceptions about the past. I clicked to the first slide, showing the penthouse where it all began. 12 years ago, I bought my first property with a simple trust fund. While my family saw a modest penthouse, I saw potential. While they dismissed my interest in real estate as a hobby, I was studying market trends, building relationships, and quietly assembling what would become the largest private real estate portfolio in Manhattan. The next slide showed Summit's complete holdings. Luxury condos, boutique hotels, commercial towers stretching across the city skyline. "Every empire has a foundation," I continued. "Mine was built on being underestimated, on being dismissed, on being seen as the quiet daughter who needed protection from the real world." In the lobby, I saw Dad's face redden. Yesterday, many were shocked to learn that Summit had acquired Winters Investment Group and several other family holdings. The truth is, these acquisitions weren't about revenge or family drama. They were sound business decisions, protecting investors and employees from mismanagement and potential collapse. The reporters' fingers flew across their keyboards. "The Manhattan Development Project announced yesterday represents our largest investment yet, a $5 billion initiative to transform the city while preserving its character and ensuring sustainable growth." I clicked through architectural renderings of the planned developments, the renovated properties, the public spaces that would make luxury living accessible to a broader market. "But today isn't just about business announcements," I said, my voice softening slightly. "It's about challenging assumptions. About proving that success doesn't always look like what people expect. Sometimes it looks like a woman in a modest penthouse, quietly building something extraordinary while others underestimate her potential." Questions erupted from the crowd. "Miss Winters, did your family truly not know about your success? How did you keep such a large operation hidden? What's next for the Winters family legacy?" I held up a hand. Summit's operations were never hidden. They were public record. Anyone could have looked, anyone could have asked. But sometimes people see what they expect to see, not what's actually there. Through the glass, I watched James slump against a wall, Victoria dabbing at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. "As for the future," I continued, "Summit will continue its mission of strategic growth and responsible development. The Winters family companies will be restructured to protect employees and small investors. And yes, I'll keep my penthouse, though now everyone knows it's more than just a simple home." The questions continued, but I saw Rachel signaling from the side. The mayor's office was calling again, and the development permits needed immediate attention. "Thank you for your time," I concluded. "Summit's full development plans and financial reports are available in your press packets. The story you'll find there isn't about family drama or revenge. It's about vision, patience, and the power of being underestimated." As I left the stage, the media erupted in a frenzy of coverage. On the lobby screens, I watched analysts already dissecting every word, praising the strategic brilliance of Summit's quiet rise to power. In my office at the top of Summit Tower, I could see my penthouse in the distance, its clean lines a reminder of where it all began. My phone buzzed with a message from Dad. "We need to talk, please." I set the phone aside and turned to the stack of development permits waiting for my signature. The time for family drama was over. I had an empire to run, one built not on inherited privilege and arrogance, but on the quiet strength of proving everyone wrong. Rachel entered with fresh market updates. "The mayor's waiting on line 1. The development team needs decisions on the architectural plans. And your family's still in the lobby." I smiled, picking up my pen. "Tell the mayor I'll call back in an hour. Send the development team the updated plans. And my family." I glanced at the penthouse in the distance. Tell them they can make an appointment like everyone else. I'm busy building something they never thought I could. The sun glinted off the glass towers of Manhattan, the same view that had inspired my first purchase, my first step toward proving that success doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just quietly builds an empire, one underestimated moment at a time. The headlines would continue, the stories would spread, but the truth was simpler than any of them knew. I hadn't set out to become Manhattan's queen. I'd simply refused to accept the limits others tried to place on me. And now, looking out over my city, I knew the real work was just beginning. After all, empires weren't built on revenge, they were built on vision. And my vision for Manhattan was just getting started. 1 month after the press conference, I stood at my penthouse windows, watching Manhattan's morning light transform glass towers into gold. The morning papers lay scattered across my desk, their headlines chronicling Summit's continued ascent. Summit Ventures revolutionizes Manhattan skyline. Real estate empire sets new industry standards. Winter's dynasty, the complete power shift. My phone buzzed, a message from Rachel. Final paperwork for the family mansion sale is complete. Your parents' moving service is scheduled for today. I sipped my espresso, remembering the countless dinners where my dreams were dismissed as naive fantasies. Now those same dreams had reshaped the city's horizon. The private elevator chimed, Dad's unique access code, one of the few remnants of his former status. Rebecca, he called out, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. May we talk? I gestured to the Italian leather chair beside my desk. He sat heavily, looking uncharacteristically disheveled in last season's suit. The apartment you arranged, he began. It's suitable, your mother's adapting. Good, I replied simply. James accepted the analyst position at Summit's tech division, entry level as you specified. I nodded. Everyone starts somewhere, even family. He stared out at the skyline, where construction cranes marked Summit's newest developments. All those years at family meetings, watching you sit quietly while we planned your future, you were planning something much bigger, weren't you? No, Dad, I was building my own future. Yours just happened to rest on false assumptions. A luxury helicopter glided past, one of Summit's executive transport fleet, already fully booked for the quarter. The investment meetings, he continued, when you'd take notes in the corner. You weren't just observing, were you? I was learning. Every mistake, every missed opportunity, every arrogant decision, they all taught me what not to do. His hands gripped the chair arms. Goldman Sachs offered me a consulting position. I know, I advised against it. He turned sharply. That was you? Manhattan's smaller than you imagined, isn't it? Rachel appeared at the door. Miss Winters, the City Planning Commission is waiting for your presentation. I stood straightening my blazer. Time to go. The movers will be at the mansion at noon. Don't forget anything. The new owners take possession tomorrow. Rebecca, Dad called as I reached the door. The penthouse, why keep it? You could have any property now. I smiled slightly, because every empire needs roots, a reminder of where it started and why. The morning sun caught the city's glass facades, making them sparkle like the success they said I'd never achieve. In the distance, construction crews continued reshaping the skyline according to my vision. Goodbye, Dad, I said. Give Mom my love. And Dad, that consulting position. Try Morgan Stanley instead. They could use someone who's learned humility the hard way. As my private elevator descended, I watched him in the security feed, a small figure against the backdrop of the empire his daughter had built while he wasn't looking. Rachel reviewed my schedule as we rode down, development meetings, investment strategies, architectural approvals. The empire growing stronger each day. Victoria called, she added. She's starting a boutique real estate firm. She's requesting a meeting. Send her to our incubator program, I replied. No shortcuts, no family favors. Let her earn it. We stepped into Summit Tower's lobby, its soaring atrium reflecting the morning light. Employees nodded respectfully, not because of my name, but because of what I'd built. My phone buzzed one last time. Mom, the mansion's empty. Found your old business plans in the study. I finally read them. They were brilliant. I'm sorry we never saw it. I entered my office, Manhattan spread before me through floor-to-ceiling windows. The penthouse was visible in the distance, A modest reminder of immense dreams. Ready for the commission? Rachel asked. Always, I replied, picking up my presentation materials. After all, success isn't about who believes in you. It's about believing in yourself enough to prove them wrong. The morning sun illuminated my empire's reflection in the windows, towers, penthouses, and one simple home, where it all began. Where a quiet daughter's dismissed dreams had grown into something even her family's imagination couldn't contain. Sometimes the biggest successes start with the smallest moments of being underestimated. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all, it's excellence.